headed towards either superintelligence or civilization ending.
Mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. Far. As the algorithms and the hardware improve, that digital intelligence will exceed biological intelligence by a substantial margin. It's obvious. I'm very close to the cutting edge in AI, and it scares the hell out of me.
You've expressed your reservations about AI and your fears about that.
Yeah, I just think the singularity is probably the right word, because we just don't know what's going to happen once there's intelligence substantially greater than that of a human brain.
Yeah.
AI is much more advanced than people realize, and the pace of progress is much greater than people realize. It'd be fairly obvious if you saw a robot walking around talking and behaving like a person, you're like, whoa, that's like, what's that? That would be really obvious. What's not obvious is a huge server bank in a dark vault somewhere with an intelligence that's potentially vastly greater than what a human mind can do. I mean, its eyes and ears would be everywhere. Every camera, every microphone, every device that's network accessible. That's really what AI means. It's not like a robot running around. The robots would simply they'd be like a finger of the AI.
The danger of AI is much greater than the danger of nuclear warheads by a lot. And nobody would suggest that we allow anyone to just build nuclear warheads if they want. That would be insane. And mark my words, AI is far more dangerous than nukes. Far. So why do we have no regulatory oversight? This is insane.
I am concerned about certain directions that AI could take that would be not good for the future. I think it'd be fair to say that not all AI futures are benign. Not all.
Okay.
And so if you have something, if we create some digital superintelligence that exceeds us in every way by a lot, it's very important that that be benign. It just becomes a very unstable situation, I think, if you've got any incredibly powerful AI. You just don't know who's going to control that. So it's not as though I think that the risk is that the AI would develop a will of its own right off the bat. I think it's more the concern is that someone may use it in a way that is bad, and even if they weren't going to use it in a way that's bad, that somebody could take it from them and use it in a way that's bad. That I think is quite a big danger.
This could be a huge problem for society. What are the scenarios that scare you most?
Humanity really is not evolved to think of existential threats in general. We're evolved to think about things that are very close to us, near term, to be upset with other humans, and not to really to think about things that could destroy humanity as a whole. But then in recent decades, just really in the last century, we had nuclear bombs, which could potentially destroy civilization, obviously. We have AI, which could destroy civilization. We have global warming, which could destroy civilization, or at least severely disrupt civilization. AI would be used to make incredibly effective propaganda that would not seem like propaganda.
So these are deep fakes.
Yeah, influence the direction of society, influence elections. Artificial intelligence just hones the message, looks at the feedback, makes this message slightly better. Within milliseconds, it can adapt its message and shift and react to news. And there's so many social media accounts out there that are not people. Like, how do you know it's a person, not a person?
People underestimate the capability of AI. They sort of think like it's a smart human, but it's really much. It's going to be much more than that. It'll be much smarter than the smartest human. Yeah, it'll be like, can a chimpanzee really understand humans? Not really. We just seem like strange aliens. They mostly just care about other chimpanzees, and this will be how it is, more or less, in a relative. In fact, if the difference is only that small, that would be amazing. Probably it's much, much greater. So the biggest mistake that I see artificial intelligence researchers making is assuming that they're intelligent. Yeah, they're not compared to AI. And so a lot of them cannot imagine something smarter than themselves, but AI will be vastly smarter, vastly. We're headed towards either superintelligence or civilization ending. Those like the two things that are that'll happen. Intelligence will keep advancing. The only thing that would prevent it from advancing is something that puts civilization into stasis or destroys civilization. So then we have to figure out what is a world that we would like to be in, where there is this digital superintelligence. I think and then another point that I think is really important to appreciate is that all of us already are cyborgs. So you have a machine extension of yourself in the form of your phone and your computer and all your applications. You are already superhuman. But by far, you have more power, more capability than the President of the United States had 30 years ago. If you have an internet link, you have an oracle of wisdom. You can communicate to millions of people. You can communicate to the rest of Earth instantly. These are magical powers that didn't exist not that long ago. So everyone is already superhuman and a cyborg.
Narrow AI is not a species level risk. It will result in dislocation, in lost jobs, and sort of better weaponry and that kind of thing. But it is not a fundamental species level risk, whereas digital superintelligence is. So it's really all about laying the groundwork to make sure that if humanity collectively decides that creating digital superintelligence is the right move, then we should do so very, very carefully. Very, very carefully. This is the most important thing that we could possibly do.
The things that I think are really quite likely is that digital intelligence will be able to outthink us in every way, and it will certainly be able to simulate what we consider consciousness. So to a degree that you would not be able to tell the difference. If you can't tell the difference, and this is sort of the Turing test, but think of a more sort of advanced version of the Turing test. If you're talking to a digital superintelligence and can't tell if that is a computer or a human, like let's say you're just having a conversation over a phone or a video conference or something where you think you're talking, looks like a person, makes all of the right inflections and movements and all the small subtleties that constitute a human, and talks like a human, makes mistakes like a human, like at that, and you literally just can't tell, are you video conferencing with a person or an AI? And so I think it's important, if we have this incredible power of AI, that it not be concentrated in the hands of a few and potentially lead to a world that we don't want. There are two futures, and one future is we're out there among the stars, and the things we read about and see in science fiction movies, the good ones, are true. We have these starships, and we're going to see what other planets are like, and we're a multi-planet species, and the scope and scale of consciousness is expanded across many civilizations and many planets and many star systems. This is a great future. This is a wonderful thing to me, and that's what we should strive for. We can definitely go to the moon and Mars.
Yeah.
And we can go to the asteroid belt, and we can go to the moons of Jupiter, Saturn. We can even get to Pluto. A future where we are a spacefaring civilization and out there among the stars. This is very exciting. This makes me look forward to the future. This makes me want that future. There need to be things that make you look forward to waking up in the morning. You wake up in the morning, you look forward to the day, forward to the future. In a future where we are a spacefaring civilization and out there among the stars, I think that's very exciting. That is a thing we want. Whereas if you knew we would not be a spacefaring civilization but forever confined to Earth, this would not be a good future. That would be very sad. Well, I think this is one of those things that's quite difficult to predict. When you think of, the first controlled powered flight was 1903 with the Wright brothers. And then 66 years later, we put the first people on the moon.
I mean, if you'd ask people, say in 1900, what are the odds of man landing on the moon, they would have said that's ridiculous. And if you try to talk to them about the internet, they would not even know what the heck what are you even talking about? Like, this sounds so crazy. But today, with a $100 device, you can video conference with anyone in the world, on the other side of the world. And if you have a Wi-Fi connection, it's basically free. It's free to have an instant visual communication with anyone, or even with millions of people. With social media, you can communicate to millions of people simultaneously. So, and you can Google something and ask any question. It's like an oracle of wisdom that you can ask almost any question and get an instant response. It would have been incredibly difficult to predict these things in the past, even the relatively recent past. So I think the one thing that we can be quite certain of is that any predictions we make today for what the future will be like in 50 years will be wrong. That's for sure. I mean, I think directionally, I can tell you what I hope the future has, as opposed to maybe what it will be, because this may just be wishful thinking. I mean, I hope we are out there on Mars and maybe beyond Mars, the moons of Jupiter. I hope we're traveling frequently throughout the solar system, perhaps preparing for missions to nearby star systems. I think all of this is possible within 50 years. And I think that would be very exciting to do that. I think we'll see autonomy and artificial intelligence advance tremendously. I think that's actually quite near term. My guess is in probably 10 years, it will be very unusual for cars to be built that are not fully autonomous. 10 years.
10 years from now.
Yeah. I think almost all cars built will be capable of full autonomy in about 10 years. As it is, the Tesla cars that are made today have the sensor system necessary for full autonomy, and we think probably enough compute power to be safer than a person. So it's mostly just a question of developing the software and uploading the software. And if it turns out that that more compute power is needed, we can easily upgrade the computer. And so that's all Tesla's built since October of last year. And other manufacturers will follow and do the same thing. So getting in a car will be like getting in an elevator. You just tell it where you want to go, and it takes you there with extreme levels of safety. And that'll be normal. It'll just be normal. Like for elevators, there used to be elevator operators. You get in, there'd be a guy moving a lever. Now you just get in, you press the button, and that's taken for granted. Well, I mean, I do think it's possible to create something very exciting in electric aircraft. And I think there's probably going to be a lot that happens in genetics and in human-machine brain interface, like essentially a cyborg brain interface. I think there's some pretty singularity. Well, that's sort of more relating to deep AI. It's something I think we should be concerned about, because that may or may not turn out well. Yeah, I just think the singularity is probably the right word, because we just don't know what's going to happen once there's intelligence substantially greater than that of a human brain. I mean, most of the movies and TV featuring AI, they don't describe it in quite the way it's likely to actually take place. But I think you just have to consider, like, even in the benign scenario where if AI is much smarter than a person, what do we do?
Yeah.
What job do we have? I think the thing that drives me is that I want to be able to think about the future and feel good about that. We're doing what we can to have the future be as good as possible, to be inspired by what is likely to happen, and to look forward to the next day. So that's what really drives me is trying to figure out how to make sure that things are great and going to be so, and that's the underlying principle behind Tesla and SpaceX. Is that I think it's pretty important that we accelerate the transition to sustainable generation and consumption of energy,
It's inevitable, but it matters if it happens sooner or later. And then SpaceX is about helping make life multiplanetary and doing what we can to continue the dream of Apollo and ultimately make a contribution to life becoming multiplanetary.
The people of Earth will have to make a decision. To what degree do they are we willing to sacrifice the future for the present?
Yeah.
The overwhelming opinion of the scientific community is that we should not put billions of tons of carbon into the atmosphere, which is what we're doing. But unless we change the rules, because the rules currently strongly favor hydrocarbons, unless we change the rules, I think we're in for a really rough future. I mean, fundamentally, we have a delayed gratification issue collectively as a species. Like, are we willing to sacrifice the near term for the long term or not? I mean, at some point we will have no choice because we'll run out of hydrocarbons to mine and burn, and we will have to transition to a sustainable energy economy. So sooner or later, we've got to go towards a solar electric future. It's better for the future of Earth if we go sooner than later.
I'm quite confident that solar power will be the single largest source of energy or electrical energy for humanity in the future.